Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to round number 3 of the AOR Hype Season 20 PC F1 League. After a week break, we are back for some more Grand Prix action, and from one terrifyingly difficult street circuit to the next. The Baku City Circuit is a driver's challenge for tonight. This 3.73 mile circuit, introduced back in 2016, has earned itself a reputation of being sort of red herring in the Formula 1 calendar, as there always appears to be drama. Will we see that tonight? Well, if the Monaco Grand Prix we had 2 weeks ago is anything to go by, then that answer would be yes. Of course, since we are still in the early stages of this newly formed second championship, the standings are still very tight at the top and bottom, and with still 15 races left to go in this season, there are still plenty of opportunities for these drivers to deliver. Speaking of opportunities, overtaking zones at this circuit provide some heated action. Turn 3, 6, and maybe even turn 15 are potential markers for an overtake. But of course, that 2-kilometre stretch from 16 down to turn 1 with a whole heap of DRS will be the primary area for the drivers. My name is James Costello, and I'll be one of your commentators to take you through tonight's proceedings. Joining me in the box again is Jens. Welcome back, Jens. Hopefully you had a nice week off. And yeah, welcome back. Let's hope for a good race.
Yes, certainly, let's do. And we can just jump straight into qualifying. Joining the drivers early on if my stream deck wants to work and not click on the wrong scenes. We're joining the drivers just here early on in qualifying with about 15.5 minutes to go. The first couple of drivers making their way out on track and beginning to slowly start their final laps. Well, the first driver we will have out on a flying lap will be Josh. In the Racing Point, he is quite far down the championship in 13th with 1 point to his name. But he will certainly be hoping to pick up some good points here tonight with only 12 drivers joining us as he's making his way onto the back straight, or the second DRS straight, just after turn 2 before coming into the ridiculously hard second sector where we see the castle section, where we've over the years, since 2016, seen a couple of drivers have issues where you normally in practice see them go straight on into the runoff, but in qualifying and the race where they're pushing it, some of the drivers might hit into either of the left or right side walls, like we saw Charles Leclerc do last year in the qualifying session.
Yeah, we know a lot of drama can happen at Baku. Take the 2017 or 2018 races, or even if you want to go virtual world, the AOR race from season 18 was pretty eventful, to say the least. Hopefully, despite the lack of drivers, hopefully we can have some sort of action. Just like we did in Monaco last time out, even, not that much overtaking, but still a lot of drama. I mean, drama that went all the way after the checkered flag even, because obviously the controversy at the end regarding Tom and Paris switching places under the safety car, and Paris taking the win, but upon penalties actually wasn't given it. Neither was Tom, actually. Tom was also given a post-race penalty. Thaler, who unfortunately can't attend tonight due to a broken toe, unfortunately for him. He's on the championship leader after winning the last race. in Monaco. Obviously, one of only 2 drivers to win so far this season. Both of them are Germans. Andrea in the Mercedes is also here tonight, and he's just gone second fastest with a 1:37.9.
Yeah, certainly Padlo Foods is now crossing the line in 3rd place. You see these drivers now out on the soft tyre, all of them really setting in that lap time. Azerbaijan or Baku is one of those tracks where it's in qualifying you really don't want to be on the medium tyre, especially not when there's only 12 drivers in the lobby. It's very much a track where you want to maximise your position and just generally you want to start high up the field, but you risk if you start in 1st place to get run over into turn 1 on the 2nd lap due to that massive 1st straight there, and then into turn 1 with the slipstream. But most of the drivers just everyone choosing the soft tyre for now, and yeah, I'm not really thinking that any of the top 10 guys will be going on to the medium tyre. But you never know. What I would suggest is the top 10, of course, going on a soft tyre, starting that, and then the 2 drivers outside the top 10 will be starting on a set of medium tyres for that reverse strategy.
Yeah, and even if the drivers want to start on the mediums or qualify on the mediums, because of the only 12 drivers, there is a high chance that some of the top tier drivers can potentially do that if they want to. But of course, track position at this circuit can be crucial. It can be difficult to follow, especially in that 2nd sector. But of course, overtaking is still very likely if you get a good DRS, slipstream and whatnot. So no fear for any of the drivers who will eventually start lower down the field compared to other circuits, akin to the first 2 ones we've had on this racing calendar, with Spain and Monaco being 2 very difficult circuits to overtake. A change of pace, knowing that you can overtake here, is definitely something that the drivers who often start at the rear of the field can obviously hope for in their race. But we've got 11 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Only a few drivers out on circuit at the moment. Most are in the pits or setting their initial runs, most of the drivers either did set a lap, which got invalidated, or didn't set one at all. We only have 4 drivers who have set times at the moment: Josh, Andrea, Padlo Futes, and Tinitza. Tom did set a lap. I was on board with him, but didn't look like he was able to put that time on the board. I wonder what his time actually was in the end. It was a 37.5, which would have put him P2 at the moment. But yeah, he got invalidated. It is tricky, this circuit, to nail those laps. There are specific incidents to potentially get your lap invalidated, potentially turn 10 just after, or turn 10 and 11 just after the castle sequence is potentially difficult, so he might have had it invalidated there. But yeah, they need to get their lap times in because mistakes are costly around here.
Yes, certainly, especially with the long circuit that it is. A lap here, you see the laps that's been set, it is 137s, 138. So an outlap takes upwards of 150, sometimes even 155 if you're in some traffic or you're just heating your tyres properly. And if you then make a couple of early mistakes here, you are going to all of a sudden be crunched on time towards the end of qualifying. And it's going to be interesting to see, come the end of qualifying, if some of these drivers will mistime their exit from the garages and simply not be able to make the start-finish line before the checkered flag falls. Because with the length the circuit is, it's something that we also see at Spa and other places where either drivers don't have time to set an extra time because they've messed up 2 attempts and then isn't able to go out for a 3rd one, or they simply just mistime it towards the end with the time that they have left, and then they just cross the line with a couple of seconds after the checkered flag falls.
I've just seen Christian invalidate his lap time at that tricky turn 15, where obviously where Hamilton and Vettel had their incident in 2017, and it is an action zone for potential crashes.
I was just on board with Schultz's there. You saw that on the stream as well. In the castle section, he's very lucky not to go out of this qualifying session.
Oh, no wing.
Yeah, he cut a bit too much in towards the left-hand side of the castle, and then just bumped front wing off and getting catapulted into the right-hand side. So I'm surprised that both of his front tyres are still on that car. Now we have to watch out in these final couple of corners. We saw Tudor yesterday in the F2 race have an issue there, where he had to go out of the race after having losing his front wing and then into the wall. But Schultes, he manages to go through there nicely. But yeah, as we mentioned, the castle section, it is very tough to navigate, as Schultes he has proved, as he just wanted to maximise the speed he could take and maximise the time he spent in there, and then just tried doing a bit too much, and then it's so easy to just hit one of the walls, either on the inside or the outside.
He's very lucky that he did this in qualifying, as in the race that'll be game over. Any sort of wing damage could be, well, it will be costly, and could even be a game over, because, you know, this circuit, you need a lot of downforce. I mean, obviously the setup wise, they might reduce the downforce to add to the top speed down the long straights to aid overtaking, but you're going to need the downforce in those tricky sections, especially the section that Schultes obviously made his mistake. But yeah, from like turn 4 onwards to turn 12 really is the real nitty-gritty part of the lap, where downforce is key. And obviously if Schultes was to make that mistake in the race, then he can pretty much consider himself out of the question. But thankfully he can go again with 6 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Time is starting to run out there for the drivers, and there's only been one more addition to the times at the moment. Warren has just set a 1:37.4 to go second fastest. Josh also improved to a 37 flat, so he's now got himself a little bit more of a margin. Andrei improved to third fastest. Padler Futas up to fourth now, but still just behind Andrei, and obviously Michael Tinetzer still in the 38th. Christian is going again, it seems. He's coming towards the end of his lap, but it looks like it's an out lap for him. And Tom is also currently on his lap, but the rest are the rest are in the pits, it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that most of the drivers will now be readying up for that final mad dash that we will... Well, this circuit we'll probably begin to see it with around 3 minutes left, where everyone will be out on track trying to just find the optimal time where the track is all gripped up and the tyres are nicely heated, the track is ready, the track is just absolutely at its best towards the end of qualifying. That's where you see all the drivers out trying to set that perfect time. That is most of the time also when you see the fastest time being set, as you just see the top guys trying to battle it out as much as possible. And one of the drivers I'm sure that will be hoping to join those top guys is Tom. He's coming through the final corner there, opening the DRS, and then just beginning that run up to the finish line, going all the way towards the left, taking the shortest line, and it puts in a 1:37.2, so it goes up into second place for him, as well as who else is coming to the end of their laps? Pablo Futas coming to the end of his lap, but I believe that he will dive into the pits, get a splash of fuel and a set of new tyres, and then he'll most likely go again. Although saying that, he is coming into the pits. He was just looking like he was going towards the right of the track. Christian Sendwell has gotten his lap time invalidated, and yeah, Tom is on his in lap. So yeah, just waiting for the drivers to come out for their final attempts, where they will most likely be setting the fastest laps of the session.
That's the second or third time Christian's got his lap time invalidated. Interestingly, Brownie, he's not out the pits yet, but he has selected the medium tyres, so we'll see if the Renault actually does come out with those yellow striped tyres. Obviously second place last time out in Monaco. Did get lucky obviously with penalties and whatnot, but obviously there is luck in every result in F1 to some extent. But yeah, he's not come out. Tom has literally got the track to himself, although he's not really using it, considering the fact he's coming in for an in lap. Just waiting for someone to roll the dice and go a little bit early. Looks like one of the racing points are deciding to come out, and it will be Josh. I'm pretty sure. It is Josh, obviously,
Yeah.
the provisional pole sit at the moment. Tom 97, obviously, alongside him. It is very close at the top. Will we dip into the 136s? You'd imagine if Josh improves, he will do so. Tom, you'd imagine there's a few heads in hand for him. Warren has always been up there, and Anaya, of course. Extremely quick, both in one lap pace and also in race pace. Maybe he's, just like last time, he's saving some of his lap time and whatnot, or his pace for the race. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. Warren Brownie does come out on those set of medium tyres, so if he sets a lap, he'll more than likely be in the top 10, and we'll have to start on those medium tyres. So he's opting for the alternate strategy already before the race even got underway. But obviously he has to set a lap time and whatnot, which is easier said than done at this circuit. He himself and Josh are the only two drivers who are out on the track with 2.5 minutes to go. These drivers have got to get a move on, considering this lap is the second longest, I'm pretty sure, in the F1 calendar behind Spa in terms of track length and also lap time and whatnot. So, yeah, we really need to see the drivers come out. And the Salters are now out of the pits. 2 minutes to go. 3 drivers on the track. More drivers are coming out of the pits as we speak.
This is going to get very, very exciting. Josh out there on a set of soft tyres. Schulters coming out of the pits on a set of soft tyres. Brownie on a set of mediums. Chrysler is going to come out on a set of old soft tyres, so that's also going to be very interesting to see once they come and start their lap times. But now, here comes Josh. He will be the first driver to set their lap times here in the final minutes of the session, the first during this mad dash at the end. I believe he's going to be caught up behind some traffic, but I hope that he can just get by easily without being held up too much. You can just see on the minimap there, it is going to be a Red Bull, AlphaTauri, sorry, a Racing Point and a Williams. He's going to come up to in not too long. He's just clearing the first sector there. He doesn't improve. He's 17 thousandths down on his time from his best attempt up until now. So is he going to improve on his 137.0, or is it going to be that will be his final time? Let's find out. Coming into the castle section now, getting through there nicely, doesn't hit any of the walls and clearing it without an issue. Now coming on to the middle of the sector 2, that's just two left-hand kinks. We thought it's hard braking into turn number 15, then down to turn number 16, they're jumping over the curb as he comes down to 16, braking hard before going out onto the straight, and right in front of him he has his teammate of Chrysler. Have they timed this perfectly to give each other a bit of slipstream? I think they have, because look at this now as they come onto the straight bit of the track there. Josh laying just behind his teammate there. Chrysler's getting out of the way, and then opens the DRS, just does. Down to the line he goes. Let's see what time he'll be able to say here at the end. It's a new faster lap, it's a 136.8. Then Brownie will be the next driver to cross the line, I believe, unless he's gotten his lap time validated. No, he hasn't yet. He will come up to the line in just a second. He is on that set of medium tyres as we talked about. Let's see what he'll be able to do coming through the final couple of corners now. Through that kink of turn 20, past the DRS detection point, opening the DRS. Of course, the detection point doesn't really matter in qualifying, but up to the line he goes on his medium tyre. What time is he setting? It's a 139. He will be, for now, at the back of the grid in terms of the people that has set time. But now, jumping on board with Schultz, he is going to be the next driver to cross the line here at the end, as the checkered flag has fallen. It did so about a minute ago, as you probably saw the red lights above the screen with Brownie as he crossed the line. Now Schultz will be coming up to the line. Interestingly, Kimmy's, Chrysler and FK Gaming isn't able to set times in this qualifying session. They didn't make it to the line. What about Schultz? 137.4 goes up into third place. Then it'll be Michael Tanitsa next. He is passing that kink of turn 20. Then he'll be opening the DRS. He is on a set of soft tyres, and it is a new set. He's low on fuel to cross the line, to go a bit faster, but he will go 7th. Behind him, I think it was Padlo Futas crossing the line. He'll go up into 3rd. place. Then it'll be Warren next crossing the line. He's coming up to open the DRS, also on the soft sides, like everyone else. Right behind him, he does have Josh, I believe. But Josh has come into the pits there. Warren goes across into 3rd place. Behind, Animator came, and it was 4th place for him. Then it'll be Christian down in 9th place. He has his DRS wide open, up to cross the line he goes. It's a 137.8, not only good enough for 7th place. And that is the final driver to go across the line. Although Brownie's still out there. Is he pushing? No, he is not. So Josh taking pole position from Tom97, also on that front row.
Wow, he was the only driver to dip into the 136s. Very good lap from Josh there. 4.5 tenths nearly he has in hand to Tom, but behind him it is very close. Only a tenth, near enough a tenth and a half between Tom97 and the shortest in P6. And of course we have drivers who didn't set as good a lap time, and Brownie of course on his medium tyres. Kreisig, interestingly, literally went out just to aid his teammate in slipstream. If anything, it didn't really matter because Josh had pole position regardless of whether he improved on that last lap or not. But obviously that slipstream, or a little bit of slipstream he got down the main straight, obviously did help. And Kreisig's obviously sacrificing his lap for his teammates' benefit, although he will have obviously the benefit himself of starting on fresh tyres for the Grand Prix, as will Kimmy's and FK Gaming, who also didn't set any times. You'd assume they'll go for the alternate strategy, just like Brownie. But Brownie has obviously that track position by going out and setting a lap time, albeit 2.2 seconds off pole position with a 139 flat. But I don't think that'll matter to him too much. He knows what he has to do, what strategies in hand and whatnot, and you'd hope that the drivers, or starting on the softs, know what their strategy is in hand. And yeah, we should be in for a decent race, considering how close the drivers are. Maybe Josh will check out the lead, but behind him it could be all sorts of mayhem.
Yeah, and I saw during qualifying, Josh and Kreisig, they did that teammate tactic quite a lot during the session. At least 2 times I was on board with Josh, and I saw Kreisig giving him a bit of aid down the straight. So I'm wondering if it was planned the whole time for Kreisig not even to set a lap time during the session, to go on the complete reverse strategy to his teammate, and then aiding him all through qualifying to get what is now pole position. So they're quite interesting to see from them really playing the team game. Of course, that is only something you can benefit from if you have a full team with both drivers, which we're only seeing 2 teams have, which is the Alfa Romeo guys and, of course, the Racing Point guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously teammate working very well with each other. And obviously Josh reaping the rewards for now. But obviously, you don't score points for qualifying, of course. You score points in the race, and that's where it matters. Formation lap is about to get underway, and we'll see what the strategy everyone decides to be on. Or the driver that's out of the top 10. Hard for Kimmy's, Kreisig and FK Gaming. Interesting.
Yeah, very much going on the ultimate reverse strategy. You have Brownie on the normal reverse strategy that you see, but Kimmy's, Kreisig and FK Gaming really going on that completely reverse strategy. So maybe you'll think, as the game is suggesting soft to hard or soft medium soft, so I'm wondering if the tyre wear is just so much the track that the drivers at the front is on the soft tyres, they're going to be on the hard tyre once the strategy or once the pit stop comes. And Brownie simply chose the wrong tyre to do the reverse strategy on, because clearly Kimmy's, Kreisig and FK Gaming, they're set on going on a hard to softs.
Well, true, but obviously the medium tyres do offer that longevity, and obviously we saw in the real race this afternoon that the medium tyre can hold its worth, and obviously going on to the hard at the end can be a decision if you can make it work. And obviously Brownie, the only driver, the outlier, to be choosing the strategy he's choosing. But yeah, the hard tyres around here, based off experience, aren't too great. But of course, they do have that longevity and will obviously be able to last towards the end of the race. But yeah, lap 7 or 8, the strategy suggested for the soft runners. And then obviously the medium and hard runners will go longer into this Grand Prix. But yeah, should be an interesting Grand Prix with strategy elements in between. Of course, the top 8 starting on the soft compound tyres or used soft compound tyres. We'll see who can make those tyres last. We know Tom, for example, is very good with his tyre management, but he needs to have good pace to go with it. Can he get good pace enough to take the lead off the start? It's not very short. Well, it's a very short run to the line, to turn 1, I should say, from the actual starting position. So if Tom wants to make a move, his best bet is probably down towards turn 3. Or maybe even waiting on a lap or so. But he has a lot of opportunities. Baku, known for its drama, can produce it. Can produce overtaking action as well, as many of the drivers are biding their time, getting onto the grid, of course. The top 4 are all set in position, the rest aren't. But now we'll be able to get this race underway for the 3rd round of this championship. And the 3rd different pole sitter will be a 3rd different race winner when the 5 red lights go out. We will be underway. It's a heavily long wait, but we are finally underway. Josh gets a decent start, but Tom 97 is right there into turn 1, but he can't quite make that move stick as we all trundle through. No incidents so far as we head down towards turn 2. Tom up the inside of Josh, trying for that move, but Josh still hanging around the outside as they all fire through there, nice and cleanly. Josh still hanging on to that lead, but look at Tom, look at Warren, look at Andernator trying for a move, but none of which can do so. Brownie, the 7th. Up to 8th. Oh no, that was the Ferrari of Christian getting it all wrong, and he's dialed down into last place with wing damage. And Andernator has passed Tom 97 at the front.
Yeah, what happened at the front was a couple of the drivers, I think it was Warren or Tom, going into the back of Andernator, and then it was just a bit of front wing loss for those guys. And Andernator make his way up from 4th place up to into 2nd place. They come into the castle section, everyone getting nicely through there, and it looks like a couple of these drivers might be having to pit there. Oh, as you can see, Warren going very wide there. Although it is only just a bit of end plate missing for him, so not quite sure with some of these guys if they do need to pit or if they're able to stay out. As you can see, just drifting through there, and Warren hitting the wall. Warren now clearly having to pit. He is missing both end plates. So coming to the end here, lap 1, I'm pretty sure that our 4th place man Warren will be having to come into the pits for an early pit stop. As you can see, he's already getting swamped behind. What about Andernator? Will he be able to go for the move? It doesn't look like. What about Tom behind for 2nd place? No, but Padlo Futes is under pressure from Schultes behind there, looking to go for the move there. Down the inside, he goes into turn 1. They're side by side there. He's still down the inside, but having to just let it go as they come into turn 2 there, and he isn't able to go for the move there. Padlo Futes defending well first down the straight and then into turn number 2.
It looked like it was a sitting duck with Schultes using all of his ERS to overtake, but no. Padlo Futes had an answer. They're having a good scrap for 4th place. I was mentioning Brownie at the start. He's up to P6 on those medium tyres. FK Game making a very solid start from the back of the grid. Obviously, Warren and Christian have both come into the pits, so they're both on the hard side as well, adding to the 3 drivers who started on the hards in that sort of strategy. But of course, Warren and Christian have got a long way back from here on out, considering Warren's 19 seconds behind. Krajic's who's making up the rear of the... Well, it's pretty much at the front of the field. It's a huge racing point sandwich with multiple different fillings. Josh winning at the moment, and he is kind of checking out. 1 second clear of Andernator, who has Tom 97 right behind him. And with DRS, he'd be a sitting duck, but obviously that doesn't come into fruition for another lap. Can Tom get past him without it? As Schultes already getting a 3-second time penalty. That is not good omens for his race. Considering he's got a 3-second time penalty on lap 2. And obviously this track is very tricky with those warnings and whatnot, so he's going to have to take a bit more conservative through those tricky corners. Tom can't quite get past with no DRS, obviously, being very tricky. And it looks like Andrea just has a little bit more straight line speed and more aggressive setup from the Mercedes driver, maybe. But yeah, DRS now activated on this lap. That'll obviously aid Tom, well, aid Andrea, although he's on the fringes of that DRS, but needs to be in that DRS zone, well, needs to be within a second when they get to that crucial detection point, which I think is after the final corner, and I say final corner in quotation marks, which I think the last corner is turn 20, which is a kink.
Yeah.
Final kink of the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. You can just see it when on board with the driver, or just looking at the view. When the driver's just come through that small kink on the straight, there's a white line, and that is the detection point. So it is just almost in the kink itself, just the second they straight themselves out again, the line comes. So it's very much just after turn 20 there, and then just a bit later down, not that long after, you have the point where they can open and use the DRS here. As we're just on board with Tom, coming through the final actual corner that you brake for. The rest of the corners are in the dry here, and with a full front wing taken flat out. You can see just now as they come up to the kink of turn 20, the second they just straighten it out, you see the line comes. And then not that long after, about 200 to 300 meters after, you have the opening point there, and Tom squeezes his way around the outside on the right hand side there. You could just see how little space there was. But he opened the DRS, he used some ERS, and he was passed before the braking zone had even begun.
Wow. That was ambitious from Tom. He went around the outside when he could easily just go down the inside, well, just go alongside it, but similar to what Stroll did on Norris last week, and obviously that ended in tatters, but thankfully for Tom, it worked out for him, and he's now up into second place, and now ahead of the Mercedes, and now can maybe start chasing after Josh, who you can definitely see ahead of him, but 1.3 seconds, it's very... I mean, if he can get within that 1 second, then things will look a bit brighter for him, but looks like Josh has a pace to contend with the drivers behind him, challenging him, as he still stays out in the lead. Behind, we have obviously Pablo Fuentes, who's near enough a second behind. Andernator!
To crash in the castle section there, Andernator. And virtual safety car deployed. Andernator, how much of his front wing is lost there? That is all of it. It is all gone for him. What about Pablo Fuentes? Did he get... I think he, lost a bit of his end plate on the right-hand side. And Schultz is behind, I believe, as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Also went into that. So, just showing that if anyone gets into an incident in the castle section, there will be one or two, maybe sometimes a whole field behind, getting stuck and getting into some form of contact. Now, Andernator did trigger a virtual safety car, so he won't lose as much time in the pits as he normally would. And Josh and Tom pits as well. So, a couple of the soft runners thinking that they're going to capitalise off this virtual safety car. That'll mean that Brownie, on his medium tyres, is into the lead on lap number 5. I'm sure that he thought it would be a bit longer as the virtual safety cars ended, but there are yellow flags everywhere, and there we're back racing under green flag conditions. So, a couple of the drivers pitting, Josh and Tom included, and I actually think that has Tom jumped Josh? Yeah, Tom has jumped Josh in the pit lane. That's tongue twister.
Like quite a margin as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. So did Josh have front wing damage? I think Josh might have had some front wing damage and have to change his front wing. Maybe he'd hoped that Tom would carry on and then he wouldn't lose as much time in the pit lane. But unfortunately for Josh, he's out behind Tom. But fortunately, he could keep Andernator behind. So, Brownie, FK Gaming, Kimmies, and Crysis not pitting under the virtual safety car. Of course, a couple of those drivers already having been into the pits early in the race there after the contact on lap 1. But nonetheless, the net lead changing hands for now. Josh will have to catch up a 9.1 second gap. It's not really changing. I'm not sure it's that much, but it is at least a bit of a gap he has to chase up there. So we're going to come up. He sets the fastest sector 3, so that is at least, or sector 2, so that is at least something for him. Coming up now on the start finish line, I'm sure that the gaps will equal himself out and put them in the right place. Let's just see, coming up to the line, he will cross it now. He has quite a bit of a gap, 4 seconds up to Tom, so he has to catch at least 3 seconds to get within the DRS range, and then something will happen after that, I'm sure.
the track info there saying pit window open for the softs, but no one's on the softs. A bit late there, pal, but yeah, of course, Browning now into the lead with those medium tyres, setting good pace as well, checking out ahead of the 3 hard tyre starters. Obviously, FK Gaming leading that pack. They obviously know the task at hand is to not get wing damage, which is probably the task for everyone at the moment, but they're obviously going to go long and then go onto the softs. So we'll see the softs back in action. You'd imagine, maybe even if we get a safety car near the end of the Grand Prix. But very surprised actually that we didn't have any retirements after the incident with Andernator. I was convinced that one of them was going to retire, but I mean Andernator somehow survived, albeit with no front wing. Still in P7 though, which is quite amazing how he's had an incident, caused 2 other drivers to go into the pits with him. Obviously, he didn't intend, but obviously it happened sometimes. I'm surprised that they didn't really ghost, or if they did ghost, Padlifton wasn't able to react to it in time. But obviously that is the trouble that comes with that section of the track, the cast section, obviously. And that's another incident added to the list of many incidents that have happened in that infamous corner.
Yeah, indeed. Now, looking further up the grid, a couple of the drivers that didn't pit under the virtual safety car. Here we have FK Gaming, Kimmies and Chrysics. So this is a real fight for what is currently P2. It won't be P2 when they pit, I don't think so at least. But these drivers are quite close on track. Kimmies within the DRS range of FK Gaming, and Chrysics in the DRS range of Kimmies is actually fighting further back behind Padlo, Futas and Schultes. So let's just keep an eye on that, as well as keeping an eye on the battle for second place there. Schultes now diving it down the inside of Padlo Futas in turn number 3. Quite the tricky place to go for the move. You need to watch out you don't force your opponents completely into the wall and risk them bouncing back onto you, and you have to watch out for the inside wall as well, which you have to do most of the places here on the track. But Padlo Futas and Schultes really having a fight for that, 8th place currently. Nice to see that even though they might be down the grid, they still have that fighting spirit now through the castle section, none of them hitting any walls, which is also good to see. But Schultes, I'm sure that he'll hope that he can get past sooner rather than later. The same for Chrysics and possibly also Kimmies.
Well, Warren and Michael Tinnitz are right behind them as well, and Warren, who might have thought his race was over after that wing damage and wing change on lap 1, but he's now right back in the fray for some decent points, considering everything that's happened, and there's still a lot more unpredictability to happen in today's Grand Prix. Then Warren might be having a decent evening after all, but here they go again. Padlifton just ahead of Schultes, but with DRS, you could imagine that AlphaTauri will be a sitting duck down towards turn 1, and the Haas has got ahead of the AlphaTauri and can even take the racing line before the turn 1 braking zone, and now he's up into 8th place as Warren gets a little bit out of shape there, coming out of turn 1 there, but manages to regain the car and can stay just ahead of Michael Stinitzer, and just obviously behind these two who have been pretty much magnetised from lap 1. They've been having a great old tussle, and although the fact of the matter is they obviously don't want to be as far behind Andrea as they are at the moment. 5 seconds to the Mercedes driver, who's 4 seconds behind Josh, who's 5 seconds behind Tom, just setting some decent lap times, but he might have carried some wing damage or whatnot, but he's dropped off the tail of Tom, who's now starting to catch the drivers who are on them hard tyres, and you can imagine one of them will be compliant to let him pass being his teammate, but unfortunately his teammate is at the lead of this little train, so overtaking will be quite difficult, considering the fact that Kimmy's and Krajic's have DRS. He's now caught up to the train now. Unfortunately, the timing boards have eluded us and unfortunately aren't updating as we would like. But lap 9 is coming up. Brownie still leads with this train of 4 now as Tom and 7 will join in around a minute or two. Krajic's not looking to make any moves, neither is Kimmy's. As I said before, they don't want to really get into much action. They're going to wait to the end to make their moves. For now, it's just about keeping these hard ties alive and making them last.
Yes, certainly the timing was there, not really wanting to play ball with us. Now looking at the fight just in front where the timings are wanting to be correct, you can just see Krajic's at the back there. He does have the pace to hold on, but with the DRS that Kimmy's gets of FK Gaming, it just isn't that easy for him to get past there as he possibly would like. Goes down the straight. When someone in front of you doesn't have DRS, if you're within 5/10, you're pretty much past into turn 1 even before you have to brake. But even though Krajic's is within sometimes even 4/10 on the straight, he isn't able to get past because Kimmy's has the DRS on FK Gaming right in front of him, which must just be so frustrating for Krajic's right behind, as he now will be having to look into his mirrors instead of in front of him, as Thomas caught up to the back of him, and he'll be hoping to find a way past sooner rather than later, as Antonator further down picked up a 3-second time penalty. So the track really showing that it is wanting to bite if you go a bit too wide. Now onto the straight, the 4 cars and that train goes. Krajic's isn't as close to the others in front as he's been on other laps, and Tom already catching him, but I think Krajic's will get the DRS in front, quite possibly, yes he will, but Tom, look at that overspeed that he has, just getting past before the start-finish line, but is he able to get past into turn 1? I think he is, yes he is, without a doubt. Into turn 1 he goes past, and up into 4th place he goes.
Yep, nice and easy from the Brit. Getting past up into P4 now. And you'd imagine Kimmy's a fellow suit. Considering the fact that he's got 5 flat fresher tyres, those do make a difference. Even though our numbers are a little bit low, of course this track is quite long, and as such, the grip is of. Well, Tom has a lot more grip compared to these guys, as you can tell, just by Krajic's. As unfortunately, Christian.
It's in the pit lane.
It is in the pit lane. Oh no! Some ball Michael Sinitzer. He has. Well, he's hit the rear of Warren down to turn 3, and he's had to get his car facing in the right direction once again. But he's got some wing damage as well as the Williams driver, now outside of the points, of course. Yeah, that's not great news at all for him. He was obviously in a battle with Warren, who seems to have crashed himself, it seems.
Oh!
Yeah, a bit of a scruffy lap from these two drivers. And
my.
Yeah, I was about to say Warren hasn't really stuck with Soldiers and Pato Futas like I thought he would, considering his general pace this season, but he's definitely not going to get anywhere near closer now, considering the fact he's just letting Michael Sinitzer through, it seems. But yeah, that's not the best of laps for him or Sinitzer, really. Yeah, both of them getting damaged and ultimately ruining their races.
Very unfortunate from their side. Of course, you really want to avoid that wing damage, and it is just so easy to get round Azerbaijan here, with the walls being so close. And it's not like in Monaco where the drivers know it and they take care, but here it's that you can carry so much speed through corners, and then just the wall coming so close that you're trying to just go as close as possible, but with the speed you're carrying through, it can be very hard to judge how much you can give it extra. There, Tom in the battle for third place, trying to dive it down the inside of Kimmy's, but there just isn't the room or the speed for him to go down the inside and get the position, so he'll have to stick behind just for a bit longer.
Paddle of Footers getting a time penalty. I think Salters has also got one in their battle. Yes, he has. Obviously, they're battling over P8 as it stands. And obviously, Tom trying a move, but at the end, it was half-hearted. You don't really want to be making moves at the corner leading up to the castle section, but he got a good chance to get past Kimmy's at the second attempt. This time with the DRS, the overspeed, the DRS all the way, using it all up to try and get past Kimmy's to take third place in this race, and down the inside he goes, and that is third place for the Alfa Romeo, making it 2-3 provisionally, but obviously back ahead of the McLaren, and you'd imagine his teammate will be much easier to pass compared to the drivers beforehand. And yes, that is music to Tom's ears, that FK Gaming just letting him through. Oh no, but Tom locked up! And Christ, he loses it as well. Tom has completely scovered that up. I don't think he's got any damage or whatnot, but he's completely messed up turn 3, locking up and just about avoiding the wall maybe, but he's lost places to Kimmy's, and Kreissig's trying to get past as well. Oh dear, Tom. He had it all in his hands, but has he got any damage? From the cameras, it seems like he hasn't. But he's lost a lot of time, and now Josh's only 2 seconds behind this pack now. It's really opened up now for the battle for the win. Tom looked like he had it in his back pocket, really, after getting past these 3 drivers, but now he's going to have to do that all over again. And he's coming back at Kimmy's. He's got a lot of overspeed coming down towards turn 15. No, they can't quite get past him, but it looks like he survived the skirmishes. There's the Alpha somewhere in sector 1. That's Michael Tinitzer as well, who's done the exact same thing he's done a few laps ago.
Yeah, Tinitzer really being unlucky and really just hitting that wall of turn 3, which is very easy to do now. Looking at Tom for 4th place here, trying to make his way back up into 3rd place. He has the DRS, but so does Kimmy's in front. And Tom doesn't use all of his DRS on this lap. But Kimmy's there, going for the move on FK Gaming into turn 1 there. Just squeezing him on the outside, but they're still side by side. Coming down to turn 2. Kimmy's on the inside, FK Gaming on the outside, just being squeezed there. And he has nailed to hold on, and there comes Tom, taking his teammate as well in turn 2, up into 3rd place. He goes, will he be able to take Kimmy's? Yes, he is. Coming into turn 3, taking the position nicely done there. Down the inside he goes, first on his teammate after he was forced out wide, and then on Kimmy's coming into turn 3. So now Tom in front of this train once again. I think that this time he's hoping not to lock up again.
And he avoided that, which is good for him, and he's now able to chomp away at that gap between himself and Brownie. Brownie now nearly 12 seconds ahead of these guys, so he's really doing well on these medium tyres, stretching it out for as long as possible. You can imagine he'll come into the pits in a few laps, considering the mediums usually go off around about this time, halfway through the Grand Prix, of course, as Christian leaving this session, of course. But yeah, as he comes out now, he'll come out in seventh place. Yeah, it will be 7th place because everyone will be jumped double position. But yeah, it's everyone from 3rd downwards is now within DRS range of each other. Josh has joined the fray now, just behind his teammate, who is right behind FK Gaming. He looks like he's struggling a little bit after getting overtaken by not just his teammate, but Kimmy's. And here comes Kreisig as well. FK Gaming does have DRS, but can't do anything to stop the Kreisigs from passing by into turn 1. And the racing point is now up into P4. Good move from him. Padlo Footers and Schultz are also having battles of their own. 8 seconds further back, and Padlo Footers now back ahead of the Haas driver. That's Warren getting another 3-second time penalty. He's also coming to the pits. Of course, my Hinton are also pitting a few
FK
laps.
Gaming going straight.
Oh no! Turn 3 is a big problem for the drivers. It's not had that much history. Obviously, last year Danny Rick and Kvyat obviously collided there, but it's not usually the place you'd expect many of incident. But it seems that a lot of drivers are having trouble getting to grips with that corner, and ultimately, well, crashing or hitting the wall, or just having to go straight on. Thankfully, they do have a section where you can just go straight on, and it's not just entire 100% walls, but like other corners, they do have that sort of pain relief, but it's still not great losing any sort of time. And FK Gaming now 5 seconds behind Andinator, and obviously still yet to pit in this Grand Prix, and hits a wall for gun measure. That's his wing, a little bit of wing gone as well. So FK Gaming, its race was looking pretty good 2 laps ago, but how fortunes change.
Yeah, FK Gaming really being unlucky here the last couple of laps. First, just being overtaken by everyone, and then having his small mistakes there. As now Crysis going for the move up into 3rd place there. I think that Kimmy's might have lost the DRS on Tom ahead, so he's a sitting duck now in front. And that was clearly shown with Crysis easing that overtake with the DRS. And further behind, no one able to go for the moves. Although Andinator is close to Josh there, but Josh does have DRS in front and is on those fresher tyres. So it is very much a train all the way from 3rd place down to 6th. And these drivers are all trying to find a way past each other.
Andinator seems extremely quick, considering the fact he's going for a move on Josh. And can he get this move done through turn 5 and 6?
Yes,
he can. Wow, caught Josh napping there and seized the opportunity, and Andrea up into P5, a provisional 2nd place. And after we had the incident right here a few laps ago now, I thought his race was over. No, that is Andrea showing his true form and obviously fighting back and not giving up. And now can set his sights on Kimmy's and Crysis with aging tyres, and you should expect the German driver to absolutely wince past these drivers. And you know, Tom's not that far up the road. He's only 4 seconds ahead of him, 3.5 seconds ahead of Andrea, so the win's not out of the question for the Mercedes driver yet. But of course he has to get past Tom, and Tom obviously being a very good driver and under these circumstances has been there before and has prevailed. Can he do so again this evening?
Let's see now, on lap 16 we're still having a couple of drivers needing to pit here, and when they come into the pits everything will be in the positions that we will see the drivers fighting. We're needing Brownie, Kimmy's and Andinator. I'm not sure how long Brownie will be able to hold out on his tyres, because those aging medium tyres that he also set a lap time on in the qualifying session. So let's see, I'm guessing that he'll come in possibly around the same time as the hard runners, maybe around lap 19 or 20, maybe a bit earlier than that. So, and then go on to the soft tyre for the end. Maybe some of the hard tyres choosing to pit early for certain mediums. But nonetheless, still carrying on, most of them are. Michael Tznitz and FK Gaming, I believe, has just picked up some extra penalties for themselves. So they're not making their own races any easier.
Surely Brownie has to pit this lap or next, because surely he's not wanting to go into the softs, because these medium tyres look, from what I can see, pretty tired, really. He should be able to, should come into the pits on this lap, and he's gearing going to the left, and he is coming into the pits. So yeah, as I expected, he slows down, and now obviously should go onto the hards. Maybe he'll ache on the. He's going onto the softs. He's braving it out for 10 laps on these soft tyres. Yes, they are fresh, but that is still a lot to ask for the soft tyres. He'll come out ahead of Padlo Fuentes? Yes, he will be, so that's good news for him. 6th place he will be when he comes out, and he's about 4 seconds behind Josh. So, you know what? If Brownie can get those soft tyres working and can get those alight, then he could be on for a decent finish and maybe even replicating his 2nd place or a podium like he did in Monaco last time out.
Yeah, that's quite possible. And just looking at the two drivers, of course, Kreisig and Kimi's still on the hard tyre from where they started. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna come in on around lap 20. Because that is very much when the hard tyres most likely will be done, and then they can do 7 laps on the soft tyre. Of course, at the beginning, due to the virtual safety car, we saw most of the drivers, or all the drivers on the soft tyre, doing 5 laps on those. So, very much 7 laps should be doable on the soft tyre, although some of them might be wanting to stretch their stint. But let's see, Kreisig Kimi's 2nd and 3rd, both 16 laps on the hard tyres. They need to pit, we don't just know when.
And you can imagine, considering that Brownie went onto the soft, there goes Andernayer past Kimi's. These guys will also go onto the soft. Kreisig is gearing up to go into the pits. He comes in on lap 17. Kimi stays out for another lap. Might have wanted to come into the pits, but he was kind of blocked by Andernayer on his left-hand side there. So, regardless, he now stays out, and Kreisig will come out just ahead of, well, miles ahead of FK Gaming, to be honest, in P8. And he could potentially challenge Padlo Fuentes and Sopses, who are still right with each other. They've been just like this from lap 1, and it's now lap 18. So now that we have the provision of the order, pretty much, apart from Kimi's, pretty much settled. Obviously, Tom leads from Andernayer, who hasn't really reduced that gap. It was 3.8 seconds when he passed Josh, and he's still 3.8 seconds. Although he has had to deal with Kimi's in that time. Speaking of Josh, he's got now picked himself up a 3-second time penalty, and he's got Brownie right on his heels. And you can imagine, with Brownie's fresh soft, fresh to the daisy, and Josh obviously aging hard tyres, and a bit of wing damage to boot with that, Brownie will ease past the racing points. Obviously down the start-finish rate, you can imagine. Don't think I'll be trying a move into turn 16. No, of course he won't, but Josh goes very wide, and this is going to be one of Brownie's easiest moves in the Grand Prix thus far, as he comes through the kinks of 18, 19 and 20, and might even get past before he even uses DRS.
Oh.
The DRS line comes up now, is alongside, and he is past the racing point. Kimi's now comes into the pits. Brownie now up into the podium slots, and he's now 3.5 seconds behind Andernayer, who is now 3.3 seconds behind Tom. So Andernayer getting on Tom, but Brownie gaming on the pair of them. This is going to be a very interesting final 8 laps of this Grand Prix. Any of the 3 drivers could win this.
Yes, certainly. Andernator 3.3 up to Tom, and Brownie 3.1 up to Andernator. So it's very much who's able to close that gap. And look at Brownie, is already down to 2.9. So Brownie just trying to catch up to Andernator, and Andernator will already now have to be looking in his mirrors, and you'll begin to see that small dot of a yellow car behind him as Brownie sets the fastest sector 1. What about sector 2? That'll be just before he comes out to onto the straight. So you can just see he's catching and catching and catching. I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there before lap 21. And as you can see, he's already down to 2.3 seconds, and he only needs 1.3 seconds. Then he's within DRS, and then he'll be catching even more, and quite possibly setting an even quicker, fastest lap, as he didn't put it purple in sector 2. But I'm sure as he was about 1.2 seconds up or down on his time, his previously fastest time, as he's just coming past the detection point. Unfortunately, he needs to catch about another second more before being within DRS. He's coming up to the line now. I'm very interested to see. It's a new fastest lap. It's a 1:41.3. So Brownie is absolutely flying right now as Padlo Schultz getting actually just moving up because Josh is coming into the pits. Interesting choice from him. That's quite possibly a front wing change for him onto a set of soft tyres. He'll fall down to 8th place, coming up just in front of Warren down in 9th place there.
The one concerning thing for Brown is that those soft tyres are going to be very, very worn come the end of the Grand Prix, and obviously the hards are made to last long, and obviously the softs really aren't. So he's gonna have to get a move on, get past Andrea, and then hope that he can make those soft tyres last, and so obviously be competitive enough to maybe challenge Tom. It looks like P2 is in the bag for Brownie. Andrea, of course, does have a penalty, of course, but he should have P2 on the track. Regardless, he is on the fringes of getting that DRS, and you imagine in these next two corners, he should be able to close that margin a little bit in his favour, and he's now within that 1 second and will get DRS. Will he get past Andrea? It's going to be nip and tuck. He's quite far behind coming onto the straight, 7 tenths. But we'll see the effects of DRS. Obviously, he's using overtake as well. Andrea doesn't have a lot of DRS to use. Brownie does. And Brownie now getting up to top speed, near enough 215 miles an hour. And he's got that move done, dusted, and into second place. And that was way too easy. With the DRS, Andrea was a sitting duck and a half there. Could not contest with the pace of the Renault. And now Brownie, from starting on those medium tyres, being the only driver to set a lap in qualifying not on the soft tyres, is now up into P2, and it's only 3.5 seconds behind Tom 97 to take his first win in AOR PC Split 1. A massive feat considering he's been in this split. He's been a veteran in this split compared to most of the drivers. I'm pretty sure it's in their season 18, which is quite a long time for Brownie, nearly over 50 races, and maybe on the brink of his first win. It's either him or Tom 97 who's going to win the Grand Prix, you'd imagine. With just over 5 laps to go, will it be Tom or Brownie? Either or, the race winner will definitely be deserved.
Yeah, certainly Brownie. He is catching that gap, but it's not as dominant as he did with the Andinator. So it's going to be very close if he can catch up at least to the DRS before the final lap there, as you can just see the Alfa Romeo just skip off onto the straight as Brownie goes through the final couple of corners. They can just see it get behind the wall before Brownie rounds the corner. Now it's 2.7 seconds as they come onto the proper straight here, and Brownie is catching quite rapidly. He has caught about a second this lap, and I don't think he has any penalties. Neither does Tom, so it is really a battle on track for this. If Brownie can catch these 2.4 seconds, or right just now 2.2, Brownie is catching quite rapidly, and you have to remember he really only needs to catch about 1.2 seconds now before he's in that DRS, and it'll be even easier for him, because down the straight Tom will be a sitting duck, because Tom will not get DRS from anyone. And in front of him there's quite a gap to Michael Tanitsa or Warren or FK Gaming, who could provide Tom with a DRS opportunity. So he will very much be a sitting duck, and it's now 1.8 seconds. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brownie is within the DRS range on the next lap, and then we have a proper fight for the lead in the last couple of laps.
This could be a final lap Bottas Stroll incident where maybe Brownie gets past Tom on the line. We'll have to wait and see. But he is closing that gap down rapidly. Now down to 1.6 seconds. He won't get DRS on this lap, but on the next lap you'd imagine he'll be able to do so, only needing 6/10s in hand. He can definitely see that Alfa Romeo in the distance, that prey he wants, that first place that he wants, but Tom has it at the moment and he's holding on to it for dear life. Tom, who's been leading this race only for a few laps, to be honest, but has been theoretically leading this race for quite some time after Josh obviously pitted earlier on with that wing change and gave Tom about a 5 second or so benefit with the VSC and whatnot. And you know, Tom, hadn't he made that mistake trying to get past Kimmy's and his teammates, locking up into turn 3, which is approaching now? Could he be 5 seconds ahead, maybe, or definitely further ahead? He might be able to think about a win if he hadn't have done that. But now, all eyes are behind him, looking at Brownie to see if he can snatch the win away from Tom, who had the win snatched away from him in Monaco under different circumstances. Of course, Paris overtook him under safety car conditions. No such thing like that. But it'll be a much easier move for Brownie. He can get within that DRS range, and he's on the edge, tantalisingly close to that 1 second. Tom has to drive for his life. They both have pretty similar levels of ERS, so Tom will have that in handy when he needs it. And Brownie, of course, with the straight line speed he has shown throughout this Grand Prix, adding DRS to that will be catastrophic for Tom's race. And he's now just got within DRS range. He's 8 tenths behind is Brownie. And let's see if he can get this move done. He was a similar amount of margin behind Andone, and he managed to get that move done with ease down towards turn 1. Will it be the same feat with Tom, though? The race leader. This is the race lead. Can Brownie take the lead of the Grand Prix as we cross the line to start the third to last lap, lap 24 of 26? He can't get past into turn 1. Brownie goes a little bit wide for good measure. Now, can he get past into turn 3? This will be interesting because he will have DRS, of course, and he is much closer. Kimmy has now got past Shelters on his quick soft tyres, so it's showing that the hard strategy, starting on the hards, or the mediums for that matter, or the alternate strategy in general, has been a very wise decision for the drivers that have obviously made that work. Elgato Gaming obviously hasn't really been a good decipher with that, but Kimmy's and Kryzik's are looking to get some decent points, but not good enough points compared to what Brownie might get. But he still has to make this move, and Tom's going to make him work for this to the last very second.
Yeah, now they're on lap 24 out of 26. They're going to be finishing this lap, and then they're going to have 2 laps left. They have 2.5 laps left just about now. Brownie on the kinks there on one of the back straights, you could call it. He had 8 tenths, but into the braking zone, into turn 16, what will he have? He's into those tantalizing 5 tenths of a second that you need to get past with the DRS, coming down the main straight. Look at this, coming through the final couple of corners, which is basically the main straight now, coming out of turn 20. There is the detection point. He has it. It is 2 tenths now. Less, catching, opening the DRS, going to the right hand side, and he takes the lead, coming on to lap 25. Will Tom fight back? No, not quite yet. Into turn 2, Tom will get the DRS coming down the second DRS straight, but will he be able to hang on and go for the move? Let's see. Tom will open the DRS right behind there, but I don't think he has the pace. I think Brownie's able to just pull off, even though Tom has the DRS behind. Let's look at this. He locks up into turn 3, but Brownie has gone into the lead. 2 laps to go. Can Brownie hold on, or will Tom fight back and take the lead? It's now 8.5 tenths, 9 tenths up to Brownie. So I don't know. Let's see, as they will be coming on to the end of the lap, and then we'll actually see if Tom is able to hold on and get the DRS, or if Brownie will have a big enough gap. Now coming into the castle section as well, a section of track where they need to be so careful, but both of them just throwing it in there, none of them wanting to be careful, none of them wanting to lose any time in front.
Tom's catching or keeping up with Brownie here. It's not over yet. Brownie was able to slice past Andre and just soar off. This is not the case with Tom. especially considering it is penultimate lap, of course. Tom is well within DRS range. Oh, he gets a little bit out of shape coming out to the final real corner of 16, but he does have DRS, so he's still in the fight. Although he is, well, that little slip up there on the exits has caused him to be without it, but he does have the DRS. On to the final lap. This has been a very exhilarating Grand Prix, and we still don't know who the winner will be, but Brownie looking the major favourite. Tom will have DRS for the next straight, of course. The second to last opportunity, you'd imagine, you need to close in and be around about 8 tenths at most behind coming into the final couple of corners. And maybe we might see a Valtteri Bottas Lance Stroll moment where he passes on the line, but in order to do that, he has to give absolutely everything. Throw everything on the kitchen sink, to be honest. That's what Tom needs to do if he wants to take this win, which he would so dearly want. But it looks like Brownie has been able to keep that lead. It's stayed at 991 for a very long time. I don't know if that's actually representative or that's the timing boards slipping up, but Tom can definitely see Brownie right ahead of him. I guess we'll find out when we see if he...
I think he's outside the second.
There, and we'll have to wait and see, though, when he comes to the detection points. He gets close under braking, coming to turn 15. It's going to be very close, the end of the Grand Prix, 26 to 26. Brownie in the lead from Tom, Andrea in the top 3. But it's been quite an interesting race, full of strategy, full of incidents, full of drama. Not even over yet, but Brownie... Tom does have DRS, but I think it's a little bit too late. It is. Brownie has the win in the bag. He crosses the line. What a remarkable strategy from the Renault driver. And fair play to both of these drivers for putting up a great fight. Tom, unfortunately, couldn't keep the win. He did everything in his power, but those soft tyres, that strategy from Brownie, working wonderfully. And he thoroughly deserves his first AOR F1 win. And coming after a P2 in Monaco, he probably will actually take the championship lead. Andrea came here in third, ahead of Kimi's, ahead of Padlo Futtes, ahead of Schultz, Kreisig, ahead of Josh. They finished very close to the racing points. Warren in ninth, and FK Gaming in P10, as Michael Sinitzer looks like he's binned it in the castle section on the final lap. FK Gaming is actually going for a fastest lap. The fastest lap is a 1:39.2. His PB is a 1:39.8. Of course, he will steal that fastest lap point away from Josh. Obviously, the Pulsar not having a very good afternoon, wing damage and whatnot, causing his troubles. FK Gaming does get the fastest lap and takes that point away from the Racing Point driver. He comes on P10, his teammate P2, and unsurprisingly, Brownie getting the Driver of the Day award because that was a mighty effort from the Renault driver, and he made that medium soft strategy work. It wasn't even recommended in the pre-race animations. Everyone was predicting a soft to hard strategy, or a hard to soft strategy. Brownie went the opposite, and, well, reaped the rewards. He finishes P1, and as I said, might take the championship lead. I'm going to double check on that, but yeah, thoroughly deserved victory for Brownie.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the forums right now. Before the race, he was 16 points behind Kimi's, Andonator, Tom, and Fela in front of him, and there was 6 points up to Tom in second place. So he would have jumped that with the first place, and Tom coming second. So he's at least in front of Tom in terms of points. In front of Andonator and Kimi's as well. It's just, and of course, taking 25 points on Fela, since Fela, unfortunately, with the injury he got himself, he wasn't able to race today. So Brownie does take the lead of the championship here in round number 3. So well done to him, and great to see that he's still up there fighting, especially with that strategy. Not normal that you see a strategy that isn't recommended work out that well, and Brownie just able to take home the lead after getting the race lead on the penultimate lap. And after having led a bit in the earlier stages of the race, really getting past Tom there, and then nicely taking the lead and able to fend Tom off towards the final lap there, and able to just be in front, even though Tom had the DRS both on the back straight and on the main straight coming on the final lap. So no fighting with between Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas like we saw back in 2017. This was, in some eyes, unfortunately capped off on the lap just before. But nonetheless, we have to thank off here from Baku after a very entertaining race with, as we've of course here talked about, there's many strategies and a couple of incidents we've seen here and there. I'm sure that a couple of drivers won't be thinking that this race is over just because the checkered flag has fallen. But nonetheless, we will be back next week for the Canadian Grand Prix around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. So that's going to be very exciting. Another city track, another track where the walls are very close, and yet another track where we might be able to see a bit of rain like we saw back in 2012. But nonetheless, we have to say goodbye here tonight, and we will see you next week. And until then, have a good one, and goodbye.